The History category, sponsored by Concept 360. The Historical Party by Imogen Sims, age 10. It was a beautiful day in Somerview town. The sun was shining, the flowers were blooming, and the children were playing in the local park. Only one child in Somerview did not play out at the fun local park, and she was called Grace. Grace was not like any of the other children. She had no friends, had never received a letter, and had never been invited to any parties. Until now. "Mum, there's a letter for me. I never get any mail, so it must be for you." Grace screamed down the empty hallway into the small modern kitchen. Her mum, whose name is Emily, was a cook and was making a tall ice cake for a charity event. She had heard Grace shout and replied, "OK, I'll have a look for you, because a misprint of a name is strange for one of the best post offices in Somerview." On further inspection, it turned out that the letter was in fact correctly addressed to Grace, and it read, "To Grace, I really want you to come to my special party. You think it would be a normal party, but no, this is a party where all the other guests are from history. You may think that I'm lying. Do not think you have to dress up, so just be casual. It will all become clear eventually. If you want to know anything else, shine this letter under a light and ask it a question. Do not believe in me, just try it for yourself. From ... "Well," said Grace in a very confused tone, "even though I don't usually go to parties, mainly because I'm never invited, I might go to this one because it seems weird and interesting." "OK, if you really want to, I'm not going to stop you," said Emily calmly. "Go and get ready then, because it starts in half an hour and we have to get there yet." The clock struck 7 and the party was now in full swing. The vibrant colours of the party decorations shone through the room, looking for someone dull to work their magic on. The minds of the happy party guests were dancing, and they started to sing with joy as the music screamed out loud. Grace walked in. Her mind was not dancing like the others, but instead was racing with confusion and panic. She was not singing with joy, but instead she was crying out in pain, "Mum, help me, this is way too loud." But as Grace turned around to face where her mum had been standing, she suddenly realised she was all alone now. An overwhelmed Grace went to sit in the dark, damp corner all alone, secretly hoping that no one would find her and talk to her. The Macarena started playing, and even though Grace loved this song and everyone else was up dancing along, she carried on, sitting in the corner, frozen like an ice sculpture. Unexpectedly, all of the dancing eyes suddenly turned to focus on her. Grace's stillness had been noticed by the party guests, but what the guests didn't know was that Grace had anxiety, and this had prevented her from having friends and even having fun. Grace was horrified by the new attention, so she ran as fast as lightning to the bathroom, screaming "Ah!" at the top of her lungs. Grace's mind was racing as she stared at herself in the bathroom mirror. But through her shaking and crying, she had managed to narrow her options down to 3 choices. I can run all the way home, return to the dark corner and accept the fact that people I don't know are staring creepily at me, or I can join in. Trying to calm herself down with water splashes to the face, Grace had come to the conclusion that her first 2 options would hurt her both mentally and physically. Therefore, there was just one choice left: to join in. So, as she tentatively left the bathroom, Grace took a deep breath. She painted on some false confidence and walked straight over to the dance floor, where she started dancing. Grace had never felt so free. Blended into the crowd, she let her arms and legs move to the beat. After the dance was over, Grace quickly came back to reality as she heard an argument brewing. Using her newfound confidence, Grace approached the argument. "Hello, I'm Grace. Who are you?" she asked curiously. "How can you not know who I am?" answered the formidable lady, dressed in her signature colourful tunic and thick cloak held together with a brooch. I am the Celtic warrior Boudicca. I tried to defeat the Roman army, but sadly died a few weeks after the battle. Died, thought Grace. Then how are you here today? Quit asking questions, please, bellowed Boudicca. You are delaying our argument. In an attempt to calm the situation, Grace continued to ask for introductions. What about you? She asked the next person. I am the almighty Genghis Khan. I built the biggest empire in the world. He said loudly, puffing out his chest to show off his Mongolian armour. But did you not dial a while ago too? Asked Grace in a confused state. Like she said, quit asking questions, Genghis shouted angrily. It appeared these people from history did not like being asked questions. However, things were looking up, as the next man along was a little bit more familiar to Grace than the others. How could she miss the elaborate headdress? I know you, though, she said, pointing confidently. You're Tutankhamun, aren't you? Yes, I am, and don't ask me any questions. I have been dead for many years and have so much to do here, he said. Okay, fine, huffed Grace, who was now getting increasingly frustrated with the weirdness that was unfolding in front of her own very eyes. So you listen to him, but not us, chimed Boudicca and Genghis Khan in unison, also now feeling frustrated. So to remove herself from the escalating situation as quickly as possible, Grace complimented them on their dancing skills and walked away to the corner where he had started the party in safety. Little did she know, but her comment had started an even bigger argument. The famous three started arguing over who was the better dancer, Boudicca, Genghis Khan, or Tutankhamun. It must be me, said Boudicca. No, it's me, said Genghis Khan. No, it's obviously me because I am the wealthiest out of all of us, King Tut argued. That doesn't mean anything, Genghis screamed back at him. But when they looked around for Boudicca, she was gone. But instead of going to find her, they just carried on fighting. Suddenly, there was a voice through the croaky speakers. Catwalk time! It blasted out. Eager to prove that they were the best two, the two men hurried off backstage to get ready. I don't think anyone at the party was ready for what was about to come. Genghis Khan walked out wearing a big puffy wig, loads of makeup and high heels. He strutted down the catwalk, but as he got towards the end, he stumbled over. A little embarrassed, he scuttled sadly to the back. Seizing his opportunity, Tutankhamun danced down to the end of the catwalk and struck a pose. He felt his legs getting weak and looked down to find his legs were actually jelly. Worried about what had just happened, he dragged himself off out of view. Vote now, a voice bellowed. After the votes had been counted, it turned out that the catwalk was a draw. Let's face it, though, both men had failed to deliver under the pressure and definitely didn't put their best foot forward. The two men were heavily sad about the outcome. All of their dressing up was for nothing. But who was still missing? Where was Boudicca? Well, whilst the men were arguing stupidly over who was the better dancer, the almighty Boudicca was busy resuming her bid to take over the world. Boudicca had currently started a power struggle argument with King Tut and Genghis Khan, knowing that they wouldn't be able to resist, as proving their power was one thing they all had in common. Once they were in full swing with the power argument, Boudicca had secretly slipped away from the party. She had managed to win battles and claimed every piece of land in the whole world. Feeling proud of her achievement, Boudicca returned to the party and announced to the guests that she was once again ruler of the land and they must obey her requests or face her wrath. Still hiding in the dark corner, Grace's anxiety levels once again began to rise as she thought about how powerful Boudicca was and how she would never escape the party and return to the normal life she so badly craved at that exact moment. Realising that every problem has a solution if you think and look hard enough, Grace set her thinking cap to work. She reached into her pocket for her calming lavender spray to try and take back some control of her emotions, but instead she pulled out the party invite. Of course, Grace said with a start. If you want to know anything else, shine this letter under a light and ask it a question, she read aloud. Grace hoped that the invite magic might help her with the answer of how to get this party to end. Shining the invite under the wall light, Grace asked, "Please, can you tell me how to bring this party to an end? It's out of control and I really want to go home." Then, as if by magic, more words appeared on the paper of the invite. They read, "The party will end when the clock strikes 10. Thinking on her feet, Grace rushed over to the clock on the wall and moved the hands forward in time to just before 10 p.m. Biting every nail on her hand, she stood, stared, and waited for the clock to strike the hour in the hope that this would work. The hour struck, and just as Grace had hoped, all the guests returned to pages of the history books. The light came up and the room appeared just as it had before the party. As Grace turned to leave, she heard the safety of her mum's voice. "I'm here to collect you, Grace. Have you enjoyed yourself?" Wondering whether her mum would believe her if she revealed the truth, Grace just said, "Yes, thank you. It was nice watching people dance and enjoy themselves, but I am pleased you're here and ready for home." The car ride home was a quiet one, but as Grace arrived back home in Somerview Town, she realised something. She had done more than she had in many years. She had spoken to strangers, even if they were revived characters from history. She had danced to her favourite song, and she had tried to resolve an argument. As she settled herself into bed, comfy in her pyjamas, she drifted off to sleep, vowing to start tomorrow with a new frame of mind. Like Boudicca, she was never going to give in fighting, and she would be more like Genghis and Kintut in being herself and never letting anxiety win. Sweet dreams.